Alright, it's time to go. I have completely worn myself out with stress the past week since getting booted from this spot, but we're just gonna pack up and go. And I will say the nice thing about RVs is that there's no packing. You just shut everything up and then go. No suitcases, no nothing. This is the longest that I will tow the war wagon by myself. God help all the people on the road next to me. But while I have my act together, and while we're still inside the war wagon in North Carolina, I did want to show you what really sold me this model. And it's because you can still use basically everything, even with the slides in. So let me come up here and show you what I mean. With most fifth wheels, they now have kitchen islands, right? And so they're really nice because you feel like you're actually in a house because it has an island with the sink and all that. But when you put in the slides, you can't get to the fridge, you can't get to the oven. There's always something that gets cut off. So the only thing in the 28BH that gets cut off is the door to what is now my garage back there. But I can still get to the fridge, I can still use the couch, and I still have complete access to everything in the kitchen. And that I couldn't find on any other design. A lot of people asked if the standing desk that I got, if that could be transported. And so what happens is, because the desk is adjustable, I just lower it whenever I need to go anywhere. And then you raise it back up when you're finished. But likewise, with the slide in the bedroom, so it cuts only that door off, but I still have this door to get into my bedroom. So there was just so much functionality in this model, in that even if I had to pull over on the side of the road, I could still be in this space and it was still a lot bigger than the van. So that is why I chose this rig. So I gotta get out of here quick or I'm gonna get like all emotional. We're gonna pack up and we're just gonna drive. We're just gonna drive. I'm gonna do this quick because you should not tow and video and everything else at the same time. Now that I've left, I feel like I can say where I was, because I was very vague about it, but I was parked in a storage unit. And that's why I had to be so sneaky.
In 1/10 of a mile, turn right onto US 117.
She's gonna talk the whole time, so I'm just gonna pull over and get this done. So if you can imagine how claustrophobic, and the spot was actually really good, but I had to hide in there, and so I always had to have the blinds on and everything, because you cannot live in a storage unit. It's illegal even in North Carolina to live in your RV. So I was just supposed to be temporary, and I was going to get the land, but that's where I've been parked illegally, is in a storage unit. And the walls felt kind of close most days, and then coronavirus hit, and so I didn't even have the option to be somewhere else. But I am so grateful for that spot for as long as it got me. I just didn't find the land or the house. Anyway, one of the owners of the storage unit figured out that I was in there, so I had to go. So I am filthy, dirty, and sweaty from getting everything with the rig ready. We are headed southbound. I would much rather go northbound where it's cooler, and I'd love to see Detroit again and Buffalo and all that, but they're closed. So we're gonna go south because South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Florida are open, and then back here for the rest of the summer to squeeze in some beach time before we reroute and replan, and God knows what will happen next. I don't know, but let's just pray that my tires, my rig, my home, me, and everything else gets to where we need to be, and we can get back to exploring and doing what we do. Say a prayer. Somewhat for me, but mostly for the people around me while I'm driving. Oh my God, I made it! Look at that. Look at that. Those are trees. Son, I can hear the wind in the leaves. I got all settled last night. I was so proud of myself. Did it all by myself. Got a shower. Went down to the beach. Even though I am not home, this campground is 2 blocks from the beach, and so I still feel like I'm home, which is great. Now, Myrtle Beach is not really my spot, even though it's a stone's throw from Wilmington. It's extremely commercial and extremely developed. There's, if you go down the highway, you can just count them in order. Mini golf, bar, tattoo shop, car dealership, mini golf, mini golf, mini golf, mini golf. So much mini golf. Water park, hotel, hotel, hotel. It's just not my thing, you know. I'm all about being outside, away from people. But here I am. So we gotta find something to explore, right? Well, Myrtle Beach in South Carolina is mostly open right now, except the showers, public showers at gyms and everything else still isn't open down here. So I still smell like a sock, but the campground has some. Anyway, when I went out last night to the beach, I think because Myrtle Beach is so much cheaper than Wilmington, Wilmington is way overpriced. I walk out on the beach and the sun is setting, and there was every race, age, gender, socioeconomic bracket, everybody was out there, and that is so different than Wilmington, because Wilmington is just it's wealthy. It's wealthy, unless you're some crazy lady who lives in an RV in a storage unit. It's wealthy people and then me. And I had been reading things on social media, watching the protests in Wilmington, watching the protests in Myrtle Beach, and it just does your soul no good. But when I got out there on the beach, nobody cared what their body looked like. Nobody cared how much money I had. Everybody's just swimming and running around and getting sandy and salty. And there was a moment of restoring my faith in humanity, that if we got off of the media and the social everything and just remembered that ultimately we all just want to go play in the sand, right? Right. So while Myrtle Beach isn't necessarily my shtick, not that I'm not phenomenal at mini golf, I am, I just didn't think there'd be a whole lot around here. Not a lot of history, right? Well, it turns out that I was terribly wrong. Okay, you remember when we were in Newport, Rhode Island, at those humongous Gilded Age mansions, and then at the beginning of the trip we were at Cumberland Island in Georgia and that astounding Babe Cave ruins. Well, as it turns out, that in the early 1900s, all up and down this beautiful coast that I live on, the very wealthy people were building all of their winter cottages. And while I just assumed that there was nothing really to see in Myrtle Beach, actually there is. Actually, it's open today, and actually we are gonna go run all around this thing. Welcome to Atalaya Castle. Houses are just buildings until we inhabit them and forever imprint our stories upon them. On the outside, Atalaya Castle is far more fortress than welcoming front door. Inside, the barren brick rooms are reminiscent more of warehouse storage and less so family sanctuary. And yet, while Atalaya Castle is not particularly beautiful as homes go, it is extraordinary in its own right, notably because of the creative souls who envisioned it. Archer Huntington, born to the founder of the First Continental Railroad. Translation, lots of money. Passed up a formal education to build museums, endow the arts, and study poetry. Anna Hyatt, born to a wildlife expert who cultivated her lifelong love of animals. They married in 1923 on the day of their shared birthday, March 10th. Typically, estates of this era are exclusively credited to the husband's fortune, and while Archer's is undeniable, Anna was wildly successful in her own right as a world-renowned sculptor. When Anna was diagnosed with tuberculosis, they began searching for a winter home where warm southern breezes could work their medicinal wonders. On this corner of coastal South Carolina, they found 4 decrepit rice fields and signed on the dotted line. There were no formal plans for the site. Archer would visit occasionally, tell the workers how he imagined it, and somehow in just 2 years, this Moorish-inspired castle was built just steps from the ocean. Mind you, this was all during the Great Depression, which is why the Huntingtons made a pledge to hire strictly local workers for the construction and staffing of the property. That may sound like an obvious decision, but for that era and for that social class, it was hardly common. Skilled tradesmen from New York and other cities were usually brought in for bespoke estates, while maids and other household staff followed the family from property to property. From the first stone to their last stay, Atalaya Castle was a critical employer in an otherwise impoverished area. Atalaya is a Spanish word for watchtower and speaks to the water tower presiding over the main courtyard. Using gravity, the Huntingtons were able to enjoy modern plumbing, a true luxury. Anna designed every Iron Hurricane cage, and she had a rather particular set of must-haves for the rest of her babe cave. Number 1, various indoor and outdoor studios for her to sculpt in. 2, her own personal zoo. Animal enclosures for bears, horses, monkeys, and a leopard. Yes, monkeys, bears, all of it. Anna found the human figure boring and predictable, which is why you'll see wildlife in all of her work. She wanted her inspiration, quite literally, right in front of her. Of the other 30 rooms occupying 3 sides of the courtyard, Archer commandeered only a few for his personal studies and libraries. One of the many anomalies of Atalaya is just how terribly simple its design is. While we have no way of knowing how the home was decorated, structurally, the staff's quarters and the Huntingtons' private rooms are very much the same. No frills. Gone are the grand staircases, parlors, and ballrooms consistent with their social standing. And there's not a single guest room. After all, this was her sanctuary to create. Their private paradise, and nothing will quite ruin your peace like people. Am I right? Anna, while you and I are separated by 100 years, girl, I so get you. During World War II, the home served as a barrack. The Air Corps operated radar from here. A plane crashed in the front lawn, but otherwise no big deal. After Archer died, Anna donated all the furnishings and only returned twice before shutting the doors for good. In 1960, the property was leased for free to the state and is now called Huntington Beach State Park, which you are welcome to visit. I have spent my entire day roaming through these rooms in circles, making sure to stand in front of each window to listen to the waves crash and get hit with sea breeze. I've traveled to countless cities, but you'll never be able to peel me away from this part of the country, and on that matter, I think Anna and I would both agree. Of course, even after an entire day here, we've yet to see the backyard. Where is all of her work? The next day, it's back across the street to find Anna's she shed, now called Brook Green Gardens. I nearly faint at the $18 admission fee, but I'm told it's good for 6 days because there is no way you can see everything in just one day. Give me a break. It's a garden. Also, give me a hobby other than gambling because I lost that bet. When Anna envisioned backyard garden, she meant 9,000 acres of individually themed garden spaces and massive fountains to showcase her work, plus that of dozens of other American sculptors. Now, I've not read the Bible cover to cover, but I do recall the part where everything was perfect in the garden until humans got ideas. Right now, with all the chaos in the US, we could all stand to spend more time in the many gardens right outside our doors, staring at the sheer beauty of what we've been given, instead of staring at social media. That said, I did quickly find someone in this garden who I was very interested in kicking out of Eden. I have a confession to make. One of my many little Casey-isms is that I have a deep, deep, deep hatred towards public art. Allison likes to make fun of me for it all the time, and she'll point out modern public art. I don't mind figurative art, which is what this is, where they had to actually make the sculpture or painting or whatever it is look like real life. But like, otherwise you get this thing in a public park and it's like twisted metal and some obscure term and you're not allowed to know what it is. Here's the bummer, is that some guy has a light installation here, and so, look, what is that? What, if that is modern art, then I have a recycling bin that I could turn into a gallery. It's all over the place, so, really? Art. The oak trees here are over 250 years old. Get close, no, closer, and you'll find entire ecological cities that exist upon them. You'll also find a small army of Instagram model hopefuls here. Hashtag sexy hydrangea face is probably already trending. While they're busy pushing out their hooters in front of some unsuspecting cherub, I make a beeline across the property to another set of hooters. A wildlife rehabilitation clinic is also on site, now home to 2 bald eagles who got into a one-sided gunfight. Honestly, who shoots an eagle? While I am a true groupie to the Gilded Age mansions with their unjustifiable 20,000 square foot footprints, 12-layer crown moldings, and marble floors, Atalaya and her grounds are endearing in a way the others are not. The Huntingtons didn't buy the corner lot on Millionaire Row to see and be seen. They didn't build on the land, they built with it, to capture all the ocean mist and sunlight that granite balconies and gargoyles would have kept out. In this era, people built homes that told the story of who they were and what they valued. If you come to Atalaya and stand where I stood, you'll get the very same sense of what they prized more than their possessions. A true sense of peace.